I'm going to win.
Donald Trump talks like a front-runner despite a poll showing him in an unfamiliar position in Iowa, trailing behind Senator Ted Cruz.
He'll never get anything done, and that's the problem with Ted.
Plus, talk about a missed opportunity. Immigration officials reportedly don't even look at social media profiles when reviewing fiancé K-1 visas. Guess what they may have found if they looked at hers? It's a packed hour of politics, fighting terrorism, and some fun on the street.
You may have a black belt, but at the end of the day, if he's got a gun and you got a black belt, who wins?
The gun wins, and that's why I'm for people having legal gun rights.
And therein lies the rub.
Justice starts now. Developing tonight, a brand new poll out of Iowa has a new leader in the GOP race for the White House. Hello and welcome to Justice. I'm Judge Jeanine Pirro. Thanks for being with us. A Fox News poll today shows Ted Cruz now in the lead with 28% of likely Iowa Republican caucus goers, and Donald Trump right on his heels with 26%, a 2% margin of error distance. Corey Lewandowski, Donald Trump's campaign manager, joins me now for his reaction. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
This is one of your rare interviews. It's nice to have you here.
Great to be with you.
Good. All right. Let me ask you, you saw the poll, and there, of course, is this Des Moines Register poll out this weekend that has Cruz up by 10 points over Trump. However, you look at it, Ted Cruz has the lead in Iowa. First time for these candidates. Is your man in trouble?
No. So, look, let's look at the polls. CNN was out with a poll this week that shows Mr. Trump up 13 points, 33 to 20. That's on Monday. I find it hard to believe the Des Moines Register has a change.
In Iowa, you're saying?
In Iowa. CNN's poll in Iowa has Mr. Trump up 13 points, 33% to 20% over Ted Cruz.
Do you think any of this is a reaction to what happened with Donald talking about the ban on Muslims who are not citizens?
No, I don't think so at all. I think the people of Iowa have gotten to know Mr. Trump very well. He has broad support there. We saw the Fox News poll today that is 28-26. Right within the margin of error.
Right.
We were in Iowa on Friday night. We had 2,000 people at a rally. Mr. Trump has these massive crowds.
Well, let me ask you about the person.
We bring new people in, and that's what these polls don't understand. The people who've never participated in the process are coming out on a Saturday or Friday night and spending 4 or 6 hours with us to learn about Mr. Trump's message to make America great again. The pollsters don't want to take those into account. They don't call those people and say, hey, you've never voted before.
You know, this Des Moines Register poll, am I correct that Donald, a few weeks back, trashed that newspaper actually before they took the poll?
Well, so here's the thing. The Des Moines Register, we have not credentialed as a media outlet for the last 5 months of this campaign because they wrote an editorial at the very beginning that said Mr. Trump didn't have a right to run for president. They said he didn't have the right to run. And now 6 months later, he has been the clear and definitive front runner. And now they come out with a poll that shows, him behind. I'm not shocked by this at all. There needs to be some journalistic integrity here.
Okay, let's talk about Iowa. Okay, people think the Iowa caucus is important. 6 out of 10 people in Iowa, by the way, think that climate change is a hoax. And more than half want mass deportation of illegal immigrants. All right? So Cruz's immigration stance is not as tough as Trump's immigration stance. And yet the Iowans seem to be going with Cruz.
Well, I think what's happened is Senator Cruz has become the flavor du jour of the week. So I don't think a lot of people have spent a lot of time looking at his record. And look, on the immigration issue, Senator Cruz was in favor of increasing the H-1B visas by 500%, which is a job-killing scheme to American workers. So Mr. Trump has been very clear about putting American workers first. And I think as more people get to know Senator Cruz, they'll be able to make their own decisions on his record.
You know, Senator Ted Cruz was on Megyn Kelly's show this week, and she asked him about a comment he reportedly made that was apparently not on the record, but it was recorded, about Donald basically saying that he or people questioned Trump's judgment. And he said it behind closed doors, and when Megyn tried to get him to deny it, this is what he said. Take a listen to this.
You deny doing it?
And so what I will say is that the voters are making the determination for every candidate who has the experience and judgment to have their finger on the button, to be commander-in-chief, to make the hard decisions to keep this country safe. And what I can tell you, Megan, is if I'm elected president, I will keep this country safe.
All right, so he danced around it. He didn't answer the question. He didn't deny that he said it. Can we expect some fireworks when Mr. Trump and Senator Cruz are in the debate on Tuesday night?
Here's what I think. I think the American people are tired of politicians who say one thing behind a closed door and then something else in front of the public. You don't get that with Donald Trump. You get the same Donald Trump every single time who tells exactly like it is. Now, maybe the American people don't always like it, but they know it's the truth. And so when he comes out and he brings up an issue like, we have these illegals coming across the border and it's time to build a wall, everyone said, boy, that's terrible and you can't do that. All of a sudden, the American people say, you're absolutely right. Let's protect our citizens. So, politicians, for the most part, are all talk and no action. And this is what's fundamentally wrong with Washington, D.C. These guys go behind closed doors. They don't get anything done. They can't get a deal done. And then they come out in front of the American people and say, boy, we did a great job for you. It just doesn't work. People are tired of it.
But you know that at the debate, the media is going to gin it up. You know they're going to try to get Cruz and Trump in a battle.
Look, they tried to do that with Dr.
But
Carson.
you know Donald. Donald does not back down.
You know what Mr. Trump is? He's a counterpuncher. And every candidate who has attacked Donald Trump has gone down the polls. From Rick Perry to Scott Walker to you name it, right down the list. They've gone down the polls to Rand Paul. So I think what people have to understand about Donald Trump is he's willing to lay his vision out for America. And he's done that so many times on so many interviews. And to tell people what we need to do to fix the country. But if you attack Donald Trump, be prepared, because he's going to hit back, and he's going to hit back hard.
Okay, final question. Governor Huckabee won the Iowa caucus in 2008. Former pastor, and religion clearly plays a very big role in Iowa. And yet what we hear is that, maybe Donald questioned the senator's religion. Does Iowa see, though, Ted Cruz as more religious than Donald, given their predilection to go with religious people?
Well, I think Mr. Trump, if you look at the crosstabs in the CNN poll, he polls exactly even with Ted Cruz, with evangelical Christians. It's a state that they've gotten to know Mr. Trump very well in. Now, Senator Cruz's father's also a pastor of some nature, and so, maybe he has a built-in advantage with that particular constituency, but I think when you get to know Donald Trump, it's more than a one-issue voter.
All right, Corey Lewandowski, thanks so much for being with us tonight. And with me now is Republican strategist and chairman of the Republican political organization GoPac, David Avella. Good evening, David. You have long believed that Donald Trump will not be the Republican presidential nominee. Are we seeing the beginning of your prediction?
Well, what we're seeing, Judge, is Ted Cruz has planned every day for this moment. And Ted Cruz, every decision they've made, including announcing at Liberty University, looking at Iowa caucus voters. And that's why you and I are now on our third round of why Republicans don't nominate outsiders. That if you look at what Cruz has done, he has a county chairman in every county, and not just Iowa, in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, and Nevada. Every event you go to at a Cruz event, there are aides there taking down your name, taking down information.
Okay, so he's got a good team. He's got a good team. But, Donald Trump has, he has the megaphone. It's called earned media. We've been through this. He doesn't even have to pay for it. And yet, at the same time, in the national polls, Donald is still beating everyone else.
Sure. Look, there's no question. There are 12 other people that would love to trade spots with Mr. Trump. And his message does resonate with Republican voters. And it is a factor that Republicans across the spectrum should be looking at as they are planning their message and trying to understand what it is Republican voters, why they are reacting the way they are this year. But there is a difference, and you know this, Judge. There is a difference in being fired up for hearing a message and actually turning out at an Iowa caucus or turning out in New Hampshire. Now, maybe there will be this influx of new voters who have never voted in a Republican caucus or never voted in a primary in New Hampshire or South Carolina. Maybe that will happen, but it would be unprecedented. But it's what Mr. Trump has to do.
But
the other challenge,
David, let me ask you this. In 2008, Huckabee won the Iowa caucus. He didn't even make it to be the candidate. I believe in 2012, Rick Santorum won. He didn't even make it to be the Republican nominee. So why do we pay so much attention to Iowa?
Judge, you may recall that Governor Romney was actually declared the winner on election night in Iowa, and then he went on to win New Hampshire as well. And we, in recent history, have always nominated the person declared the victor in 2 of those first 3 contests. Americans love winners. And it is that early momentum that you get by getting those early victories that has, in recent history, always propelled that candidate to go on and become our party's nominee.
Are you now backing Ted Cruz?
No, Judge, you know I'm not doing that. I'm trying to give you some unbiased opinion here on where we see the contest. And look, I think you look at where Senator Cruz is, he is in a good position. As I just said a few seconds ago, there are 12 other candidates that would like to trade positions with Mr. Trump and be where he is.
Right. And
Senator Rubio certainly is doing a good job at threading that needle of having that anti-establishment message, having never been the favorite of the establishment, but also winning establishment support in many of the things he's done, whether it's taking on Obamacare or some of the American Dream success story that he's able to talk about. So, look, we have a healthy debate here.
David,
sure.
David, 2000, they're telling me that in 2012 it was Santorum, but in Iowa. But that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about the debate this Tuesday. What do you expect to see? Now we've got Chris Christie is now on the stage. Is this going to be a make or break for anyone in particular?
Well, Judge, you are right. He did win. Santorum did win Iowa. Romney was declared the victor on election night, though, and it wasn't until a couple months later that Santorum was finally declared the winner. As for the debates coming up, look, no one's going to get out prior to Iowa, short of someone being out of money and wanting to do the honorable thing and not go into debt and leave their staff and small businesses high and dry by them not having money. But at this point, we are so close to Iowa, no one's dropping out.
All right. David Avella, thanks so much for being with us.
Judge, thanks.
All right. And with me now is former advisor to Hillary Clinton's 2008 campaign and Democratic strategist Richard Goodstein. Hello, Richard. Is Hillary Clinton relaxing somewhere? We haven't seen her in a while. Where's she been?
Well, she's been all over the place, Jeanine. I have to say, I have the hunch she's not unhappy about this focus on Donald Trump and Ted Cruz, the 2 people I suspect she would like to run against. Look, she's been out talking about how shameful Donald Trump's position is on banning Muslims. She gave a very complete speech to the Council on Foreign Relations about what to do about ISIS. I could go through all the facets if you wanted.
Can I ask you a question, Richard?
Sure.
That's all great, but she won't even use the term radical Islamist either. I mean, isn't there a point where you're so politically correct? You know, most people don't even believe what you're saying.
Yeah. So what she said in that regard, in that speech, is it doesn't really matter what we called Osama bin Laden. It mattered that we killed Osama bin Laden. Look, what she wants to avoid is getting dragged into the exact fight that ISIS wants to make this look like a Judeo.
What makes you think ISIS is worried about us saying mean things about them? They wanted to kill us before we were even talking about them.
The answer is this. Donald Trump, this morning with Chris Wallace, said we have to enlist Muslims. That was one of the few things I heard him say that I agreed with. How in the world are we going to enlist Muslims if we let all the Muslims in the U.S. and, frankly, abroad think they're unwanted here?
That's not true. What he said was very clear, and that is Muslims who are not American citizens coming into the country, a temporary halt. He did not say we don't want Muslims here. He said he's in business with Muslims. What are you talking about?
No, but remember he said not long ago we have to have a catalog, a list of all the Muslims in the U.S. So honestly, if you're a Muslim in the United States and you listen to Donald Trump's rhetoric, are you hearing somebody sort of welcoming you or kind of stiff-arming you? So let's assume that he's hurting people's feelings.
I'm talking about Hillary Clinton right now. And what I'm asking you, and you know what? I want you to take a listen to this. After the president's Oval Office address to the nation last week, she said this in regard to the president's plan regarding ISIS. Take a listen.
I was really happy that he made the address. I thought it was very important for him to address the nation. And, you know, I think his take on what needs to be done is close to mine.
You know what's amazing about that sound right there is that 23% of this country thinks that the president has no clear plan for fighting ISIS, and 66% believe that 23% says he has a plan, 63% says he doesn't have a plan. So why would this country elect a president who agrees with a plan that we don't believe will work or is even a real plan?
Hillary Clinton has laid out a crystal clear plan for ISIS, Jeanine. Give me 1 second. First, she says we have to attack them through the air with a coalition, incidentally, that makes the coalition of the willing that George Bush pulled together look like a joke. This one that Barack Obama's pulled together includes France, UK, Canada, and a bunch of Arab states, none of which were involved in the Iraq War. Second, we have to attack them on the ground, not with U.S. ground troops, because that's exactly what ISIS wants. And third, we have to frankly tackle them online. They now have a free shot through the kind of the virtual community out there, and that's something that she's been very clear we need to put clamps on. And frankly, the other thing she's saying is we do have to do something about gun control. I know that's not something that a lot of your viewers agree with, but the fact of the matter is, ask your friend Jim Comey, ask all your police chief friends whether they think it's better to have more people armed in this country or fewer.
Well, you know what? I don't even have to ask them, and I'll tell you what. If you go to the president's own hometown, Chicago, the only people who have guns are the people who are the criminals. The only people who have guns are people who have them illegally. And the bottom line is that it's the murder capital of the country. So don't push that on us. This isn't about gun control. This is about ISIS, radical Islamists wanting to kill us. And she won't even call them that. And I don't think that that's going to help her get to the White House.
Well, so the fact is she's called out exactly what the problem is. She says that these jihadists, we have to be defeated, not contained, have to be defeated. And she's laid out crystal clear, both domestically and internationally, how we go about doing it. And incidentally, if you listen to all the Republican candidates, not one of them takes a specific issue with what she's saying, other than the terminology. If that's the best they can do, excuse me, I think the voters are going to go with that. No, that's not the best they can
do, because she even said, I agree with President Obama's plan. 66% of Americans say the guy doesn't have a plan.
Well, she laid out her specific plan, and I think it's the kind of plan that the voters ultimately will agree makes a lot of sense. And frankly, I don't think really puts much daylight between her and anybody else running,
but Richard,
Republican or Democratic.
We've got many months to discuss this. Thanks so much for being with us tonight.
Thanks.
All right. She wrote about jihad on Facebook. So why didn't immigration officials look at Tashfeen Malik's social media rantings before they let her into this country? Next, I talk live with a former FBI boss about what's not included in some visa background checks. Plus, where did all this violent extremism start and why? A prominent Muslim author is here to talk about that with me as well. Justice is back in a moment. But first, answer tonight's Instapoll question. Did Donald Trump help or hurt his front-runner status with his call for a ban on foreign Muslims, temporary ban on foreign Muslims? Facebook or tweet me, #Judge Jeanine.